When you were in high school, how was life like for you? So since you are a go-getter, I
think my parents thought I would miserably fail.
Is there any particular time that you remember you decided where enough is enough?
So my body was just telling me it's time to leave.
So can you tell me something about starting with what you have, like in order to inspire the people that are watching you as well?
People buy into excellence. They don't buy into how big you are.
What's the common mindset, do you think, that holds people from reaching their goal? Yes. That was a clean pop. Welcome back to Behind the Logo, powered by Ego. I'm your host, Nate. And like always, we have an amazing guest with us. So let me give you a proper introduction like I always do. She's a voice that moves a room, a coach who empowers change, and the Johannesburg Top 30 Most Influential Women Award winner. From consulting to coaching, she redefining leadership and inspiring all over Africa. Please welcome Zar.
Wow, thank you. Is that me?
That is you, of course. Is there anything I missed?
No. Well, most importantly, I'm a wife and I'm a mommy and I'm a child of God. Yeah.
That's you say that. So probably I missed it. So, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing as well.
Great.
I'm doing good as well. We have read all of the things about you, like last night.
Okay.
And I can see that you have a 25-year experience. So it's not just about 25 years. It's not just about over 25 years.
Yeah.
So it's not just about work and what you do, but it's also life experience as a whole. So when we talk about it, let's just start. Where did this start for you?
Where did what start? Life?
Everything. Life. You can begin from whatever you wish.
Life. I mean, my goodness. I've always been, I think, such a free spirit. And I've always been, I mean, my dad said I was always one of those that said exactly what they thought. They never had to, I didn't have a filter. If I felt it, I said it. And, you know, whether you took it one way or the other, I always wanted to be heard. And I think I carried that for a very long time. And that became, I think, my passion in getting people to be heard in wherever it is that they are. And because I feel it's important. And yeah, I've always been, I don't know, I think the word go-getter is used too many a times. I think I've always been a free-spirited person who just wanted the best out of life for myself in whatever way. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. So when you were in high school, how was life like for you? So since you are a go-getter.
When I was in high school, I think my parents thought I would miserably fail academically because I think when I did my A-levels, the principal actually said we actually thought that she was not going to have such good grades because I did absolutely everything I could do. There was nothing I wasn't involved in. I was one of those children that was involved in every sporting discipline. I was one of those kids that was involved in every club. And if the club wasn't there at that school, I would want to form it. So yeah, I was always busy with something. That was me. Yeah. Right. So I was an athlete. I acted. I was in the drama club, in the debate club. I was in the social club. I was any club that had a name to it. I was there. That was me. Yeah.
From all of the activities, what appealed to you? Like what did you actually wanted to do from all of the things?
I just wanted to live my best life, man. And I think that was it. I just wanted to prove, I think most importantly, that you can do anything. You can do anything that you set your heart to. If you want to do 10 things at the same time, do it. And that's what I did. I think I live a life where I never want to say I didn't do it or I didn't dare to try it. Let me try it and figure out that I don't like it. I mean, I even tried to be a great musician, but then I sure figured out that it took too much patience. And unfortunately, patience is one of those things God didn't give me a lot of. So, I tried to play the piano and the guitar, and it seemed I just wasn't getting it in the first few weeks, and I stopped.
Yeah.
And yeah, but can I say I tried? Yes, I did. I mean, I even played women's rugby. I did it all. I just wanted to experience life to the fullest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most of the people, they just sometimes people, they don't try many things, so they don't find what they actually fit in early on. So we will struggle like to find our common ground and what kind of life we want to live in the future. So that's actually a good thing. So if you are in high school right now, if you want to speak to you in high school, what other things do you want to change, or do you want to put it as it is? Is there anything you want to change?
I would hang out with the kids that were not so popular more. I think that's one thing I would like to change. I would spend more time trying to understand people who are different to me. Yeah. And make them feel heard. I think that's the one thing that I'd like to change. Yeah.
Was there a special event that happened that made you say this?
No, I'm actually just thinking about it and thinking about who I was and who I hung out with. And obviously, if you did so much, then you become one of those kids that's always, oh, Zah, and yeah. So, and I know that there were kids that were not so heard, not so seen. And it's to try and create a voice for them now that I'm wiser. Yeah.
In high school, some kids, they just be undershadowed, like undermined, and they won't be heard in the space because a lot of noise will cover them up. That's also from my high school experience. I also saw a lot of kids who still struggle actually to connect with the outer people, like to be more to say something they actually want. So that's something that we actually have, a society, have to change, I believe, in the schooling system as well. So from all of the things that you've done, from coaching and also inspiring people and also making people heard, what was the first thing that you acted on? Like what on which field did you actually get in?
Well, the 25 plus years that you spoke about were not from my coaching. That's not my coaching and my facilitation and my people. I call myself a people strategist. That's what I am now. And that title I got, I labeled myself after I left corporate. The 25 plus years were actually in corporate. That's where I formed my base. That's where I did my hard time, in learning what I need to learn and using that to try and become the best in what I do now. So the first thing that I did was, learn what that world was all about, because the people that I would be coaching and the people that I would be speaking to would definitely then come from that world. And I needed to get that experience. And I got that experience and burnt my fingers too. I mean, it just wasn't easy. I mean, I learned from either burning my fingers or learned from great coaches and great mentors to get me to where I am, to where I am now. Yeah.
So you said that 25-year experience is not just from coaching, it was in corporate.
That's where the 25, I'm old, hey? I might not look it, but I am. So the 25 plus years were in corporate. And then I started officially my coaching and speaking facilitation journey in 2019, officially. Me walking away from corporate and saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I've got to find, I've got to focus on my calling and my passion. And this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. So that's 2019. That's recent.
Yeah. 2019.
Yeah.
What made you decide that is there any particular time that you remember you decided where enough is enough?
Yeah, when I had to face what I didn't even know what was happening to my body, and somebody said to me, it's anxiety. I hated going back to work every single Monday morning. There was literally a Sunday. There was a program in South Africa that happened on Sunday night called Carte Blanche. And every time Carte Blanche went on, I would get these, things that were happening in my body, and I didn't even know how to name it because I'm a happy soul. I don't get, yes, I do get sick here and there, but it's sicknesses you can name. But now this I couldn't name. And I couldn't breathe. I was told, this is anxiety. Something is going on. What's wrong? And then that's when I realized it was actually the going back to work. So Carte Blanche signaled for me that the weekend is over. And you are going back to what it is that you actually didn't like to do anymore. And my body was reacting to that. And I think for me, that was the first thing, the first sign to say it's time. And also having a great coach to actually have a sit-down conversation with, and him telling me, Zah, it's time to leave and actually follow your passion. This is not what you were built to do. And I think you've been there, done that. And then also me having a conversation with him and seeing my journey and uncovering my journey throughout corporate, as in, where were you actually the happiest? And it wasn't when I was a C-suite executive and had the corner office and the most beautiful car and beautiful house. No, it was actually because that was when I was focusing on strategies and cutting budgets and cutting people. And I didn't like that. That wasn't me. It was actually when I was a middle manager, when I could have discussions with individuals within my team and say, so Nate, what do you want to be? And Nate tells me what he wants to be. And then I have time to focus on Nate and create the best Nate that we could be. And that's when I discovered that's what I really want to do. It has nothing to do with titles. It has nothing to do with, and also I was tired of trying to change organizations from the inside out because most of them don't want to hear you if you are part of them. They only listen to you better when you're outside. And you're now charging them the big money as a consultant. Somehow now you know better. But if you're inside and I have a passion for people, man. People for me are what makes any organization run. I've always known this. And every single time I would say, but what about the people? Nobody wanted to listen. There she goes again. It's about the people. And I got tired of all that. So my body was just telling me it's time to leave. Yeah.
I can imagine that moment. Where some people, they struggle, even in corporate, maybe let's say not only in corporate, but some things they do just to get some money and just, to survive the day.
Yeah.
And you don't like it, but you just do it for the sake of it. And
yeah. And you're very right. I mean, that was one of the questions that my then mentor coach asked me was, what is the one reason why you're still here? And I couldn't name it. And then he said to me, I can tell you what it is. It's the comfort of a salary every single month. That is why you're still here. And if we were to take that away, you wouldn't be here. So admit it to yourself. And only when you admit it to yourself are you going to be able to say, okay, then what next? What do we do? And it was me admitting that yes, that's what's kept me here for so long. Could I then make the change to do something different? Was it scary? Yes, it was. But at least I had named it. Yeah.
So for people who are in the same situation that you was in a couple of years back, what kind of, because it's a very scary journey, like to quit your job, which gives you actual money and you survive with it, and to actually say, nah, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do for what I'm called for. So how did you overcome that? And how do you advise to people overcome that kind of fear that they facing right now?
Just do it. There is nobody is, and I always tell people, nobody is going to come and push you out of it. It has to be something that you decide within yourself. And you've got to weigh out the options, right? They are, and what kind of a person you are. Are you that daring enough to just say, you know what? This is it. and I'm walking away. And you walk away, knowing that you have no other second option. You don't know how you're going to pay the rent next month. Or are you the type of person who then makes a plan and says, you know what, in 6 months' time, I'm going to walk away from this. And in order for me to cushion myself for the next 6 months while I'm building this thing that I'm building, I now need to accumulate this amount of money a month. And then have that. And that maybe becomes your safety net. So it's actually knowing the type of person you are before you make the decision. Because you could say, okay, I'm going to do it the way Zah does it. But you and Zah are two totally different people. And then you do it and then it becomes utter disaster. And then, but for me, it was like, it's now or never. I didn't even have, if I could say I had a safety net for a year, that would be a lie. I didn't. Did I have a safety net for 3 months? Yes, I did. But after that, it was like you're on your own. And did that give me heart palpitations at night? Yes, it did. But I knew that there were people who believed in me, and I knew I could do this. And I knew, no matter what happened, it wasn't as worse as where I was and what I was feeling. And I had to get away from what I was feeling because that wasn't me. And that wasn't the journey that I wanted to be on. I'd made a decision that this is who I am. And this is the journey that I want to go on. And I was going to make it work in whatever way I could. And that's what I did. Yeah.
Actually, just do it.
Just do it.
the second guest. You're the second guest to actually say just do it.
Yeah.
In this.
Because if you keep saying it's not the right time, I don't have the right this, the right that, by the time you know it, you're 50, you're 60, you're 70, and your life's over. So sometimes it's just doing it against all odds, against maybe even your close family telling you, what in the world are you doing? You're like, I'm just doing it. And also because I think there's a higher purpose in what we do. And if you have been called to live your true purpose, it will all align. It always does. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So the people watching right now, this is the second time we're telling you to just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. To just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. That's the motto I also go with.
But know who you are so that you do it properly. Yeah.
Knowing who you are. Yeah, I was also going to come to that. Before you just do it, you have to know what you're going to do.
Oh, definitely.
What you have to do.
Yes.
So
how are you going to do it?
Yeah, how you're going to do it and all of those stuff. But after you start doing it, everything will come together. It will make sense. But
it will make sense.
Yeah, it will make sense.
But it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy.
Well, you've got maybe 10% who can say, oh, it was so easy, you know, but most of the time it's not going to be easy. And I told you, I started my business in 2019. What happened in 2020?
The COVID hits.
The pandemic hit.
How was that time for you?
We were in South Africa and we went into lockdown. And I'll never forget it. It was the eve of my birthday. 26th of March, 2019, we went into lockdown and we were told it's going to be 21 days. And, we just thought, 21 days. I mean, we can do this, man. And then 21 days became 2 months. Then it became 3 months. Then it became 6 months. And as an entrepreneur, I lost 90% of my business overnight. And if not 95, almost 95%. And there was the bond to pay, there was the car to pay, there was the child to go to private school, there was, mouths to feed, and it was the most terrifying thing for me. It really was. And because I just didn't think I would find myself in that space so soon, especially that I had started so well. I mean, as much as I had a little bit of a bump, I still had people who would say, can you do this? Can you do that? And so I'd started well and my business was growing. And then all of a sudden it came to a complete halt. And it was now the panic As in, what do I do? Because we're grounded. I mean, nobody, if you were not an essential worker, you were not going to work. And also, people were not hiring coaches or facilitators to facilitate on programs because it was not essential. Businesses were just trying to survive and pay their employees who were even, coming to work maybe 60%. So the services I provided were not non-essential. And I remember clearly having a dream one night and being asked, what is in your hands? And I'll never forget that. And I tell that story everywhere. And I was like, what? And then I woke up the next day and I kept having this conversation in my mind. What is in my hands? What is it? What does that mean? And then the next day again, the next night, I had that same dream. And being asked again, what is in your hands? And then I remembered there was another man who was asked that very same question. What is in your hands? Years, centuries back. And that was Moses. And what was in his hand was what was needed to change history for the Egyptians. And so I was being asked, what is in your hands and what can you do with the little that you have now? And then I remembered, so I love beautiful fabric, African fabric. And I wear it. I used to wear it a lot. I mean, it's very difficult to wear it now because sometimes we have to keep warm. So, we wear different kind of clothes. But every time I can, I will wear it. I had lots of Ankara in my wardrobe because of the type of dressing that I loved. And I had a sewing machine because sometimes I would just, sew curtains, sew things. Yeah. And I used to literally, when I was in high school and in college, I designed my own clothes. I designed and made my own clothes. My dad always laughs and says, then when she started making money, she forgot about that talent. But for me, everybody thought when I was younger that I would be a designer. They thought that's the path I'm going to be a clothing designer. For me, it was just a hobby. It was never one of those things I was ever going to take seriously or make it into a career. So I was always good at designing things and then I thought, and then the masks came. And then I thought, wow, why don't I make African masks? And that was the question I was asked and had to answer. And that was what is in your hands for me. What was the particular year or time that you saw that dream? During COVID, when I'd lost all my income.
Was it in 2018?
2020.
2020.
2020. It was actually in June 2020, in the midst of the lockdown. That's what we called it in South Africa. So we had a lockdown that extended for months. Yeah. And for us entrepreneurs, it literally meant almost 10 months of not working at all. Yeah. So it was during that lockdown period. And then I started to make masks. And then so we have a small community WhatsApp group we had in the neighborhood that I lived in. And in that community WhatsApp group, I posted, hey guys, I'm making some, African masks if you don't want to buy the traditional ones. And, my neighbors would say, oh, I would like one. I would like two. I would like three. And then this one would say, oh, I have a business. Can you make me 10? And that's when we started getting money for bread. We started getting money for this. And then I thought, okay, why don't I ask my clients? And then my clients started saying, hey, can you make us 100? Oh God, they were so popular. Can you make us 1,000? Can you make us 2,000? And this literally became I roped in my sister, I roped in my fiance, then I roped in my, everybody was now sitting at a table, cutting, sewing, whatever. It became a little family business. And that sustained us during the period of COVID. I wasn't doing what I was called to do, but I was called to do something different at that particular time. Did I look down on it? No, because it fed us. It fed us and it helped us. Did my clients look down on me? No, they supported me. And then when we could go back to work, they were like, okay, so Let's stop with the masks. Let's do something else now. Let's do what you were born to do. And then I could go back to that. But for me, it was just so amazing. And, I always laugh with my sister because there was never a day we didn't have food. There was never, we ate so much during COVID. We picked up so much weight because we were experimenting with food. But if you ask me now, like, I don't even know, this jar of oil that's never ran dry because of what was in my hands and obeying that call, that dream that I had during that time.
Wow. It was a difficult time. Then you saw that dream. What was the amount of time it took you after you saw that dream and you started to sewing the masks?
Literally days, like 3 days.
Within 3 days?
Within 3 days, I was there making masks. First of all, started with my family.
Wow.
And then,
Wow. So after COVID, so you spent all of those years in COVID doing the masks?
So a couple of months, yeah. Yeah, because the lockdown was almost, I think, about 9 months to the time that the economy opened fully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It took, so you did it for 9 months straight. So after that, you opened your business as usual.
And clients started trickling in again. Yeah. It wasn't like 100%.
Yeah.
They started trickling. Some I did lose. Because obviously their businesses changed and they could no longer maybe afford the services, or at that time it just wasn't the right time for them to focus on what I was offering.
Yeah.
And some continued with me and I gained some new clients as well.
Yeah.
And
Oh, so working with what you have, that's also another thing that I picked on right here. So when businesses start, sometimes we may think that it will take a lot of things. Like, for example, you want to start a podcast like this and you may think it's going to need a big camera, a lot of microphones, and you're going to wait until you got all of those things ready.
That's the biggest mistake we make.
So can you tell me something about starting with what you have, like in order to inspire the people that are watching it as well?
And as I said before, if you think it's never the right time, or you don't have the right equipment, or you don't have enough funding, you're never going to start. Then it will never be the right time. Start with what you have and grow from there. Even the biggest, enterprises that we hear of, even Microsoft itself, even Facebook, did they not start in garages and people's rooms and whatever? So it's not about being big. It's about starting with what you have and being excellent at that. People buy into excellence. They don't buy into how big you are. They buy into, is this product what I need? Is it excellent? Is she giving me something that's got a wow factor? And as long as you can give people that, and run with that, you'll make it into something great. It's not about billing 1 million zolte in one invoice. No, start with 100, move on to 5, and then you will see it grow. The dedication, the passion is what's going to get you to being bigger. Yeah.
So, talking about that, you've spoken to a lot of people regarding about coaching and stuff. And what's the common mindset, do you think, that holds people from reaching their goal?
Fear. I think it's fear. Fear of the unknown and fear of failure. And fear of what will people say. Those are the 3 most common things that I see. It's just fear in any way it presents itself. Yeah. And I think also the what will people say is what keeps people living lives for other people. Yeah.
What will people say? Yeah, that's also one thing, because people fear failure, but they don't actually feel failure. They fear what comes after failure and what will people say after failure. So,
and who hasn't failed?
Yeah.
Because if you don't fail, how then are you going to become bigger and better? Everyone fails. There is not a single person that can say to you they haven't failed. Because if you're not failing, you're not growing. Because only from failure do you learn. I've learned from this mistake, then I adjust and do something else. But if you are not failing, you're not learning, you're not succeeding. So, but we are taught that you mustn't fail, but that's not natural. I mean, I even give you the analogy of a child, right? When a child is trying to walk, when they fail to walk, do we scold them and say, well, sit down, you've tried and you haven't walked, so you'll never walk again? No. So why then do we, when we become adults, think that failure is something that's taboo? It's not. It happens in everyday life. And we must embrace failure as part of who we are and as part of anything that we want to start up that's great, and move on from there. Yeah.
All right, we're back again, having this amazing, lovely conversations. We have spoken about a lot of things, but let me take you back. And how was it living in South Africa first, before we go into how was it moving here? So how was it living in South Africa?
Well, that is a trick question. You need to be more specific.
Specifically?
Yeah. What do you mean?
I mean, growing up as a child in South Africa. How is it?
So I'm a fruit salad. So when I say I'm a fruit, people always ask me, what does that mean? So I have Zulu, Xhosa, Swati, Shona, Ndebele blood in me. I actually grew up in Zimbabwe. So, and then I think in my early 20s, that's when I moved to South Africa. So my granddad, so there's the South African roots from there. But my mom's Shona, and my grandma was Swati. So I've got the whole of Southern Africa within me. And then I went and married a Nigerian prince, Yoruba prince. So then now I got West Africa in me. So I always tell people I'm a fruit salad. So I didn't necessarily grow up in South Africa. I grew up in a very totally different country with different experience to what a normal South African child my age, black girl my age, would have experienced. And I understand that because, I have friends who grew up in South Africa who had very different experiences to myself. So there's the context in that. I grew up in a very multi-racial, colors, all races, all in one. I didn't experience the apartheid South Africa went through, only heard of it, in the early, I think it was late 90s, when, I think 90s or, no, 2000 actually, when I moved to South Africa. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2000. Was there any anything which is related to apartheid on that time?
Sadly, yes. Not as in, most of the segregation and all that had ended officially. But you could still feel kind of like the tensions in some spaces, but subtly, as I said, yeah. And I handled it very differently, having come from where I had come from, because I didn't grow up in an environment where I was oppressed. I didn't grow up in an environment where I was told I was less than. So walking into an environment where I was expected to be lesser than was something that I wasn't prepared to do. Yeah.
So you told me you grew up in a very diverse type of way. So do you think that helped you to be a person that you are right now?
I certainly do think it did. And also I think my upbringing, my parents, especially my dad, but my mom and dad, my dad always told me that I could be everything and anything I ever wanted to be. My dad was the kind of person who always said, you don't need anybody to be anything. You yourself are enough. And go out there knowing that you can be. And you know how we, in the African culture, you have surnames, but you also have totems. Well, in Southern Africa, we have what we call totems. Now, our totem is the eagle. So, I mean, the eagle is one of the strongest birds alive. The eagle soars where other birds cannot breathe. The eagle attacks animals that are much bigger than itself. It's an animal to aspire to be. It's a bird, sorry. And that's what I am. I come from the eagle clan. And because of that, I always had this thing. My dad used to say, "Who are you?" Even when I would doubt myself, he would say, "Who are you?" And with that confidence, and I carry that confidence everywhere I go, So I think it was that. It was being raised in an environment where, I was always reminded of who I was and the capability and power that came with the name and the surname that I carried. Even though sometimes, you doubt it and you forget it. It was, that reminder was always there. Yeah.
Definitely. Like when I think about, even no matter what type of background you came from, I believe is really, really important to always understand and to always remember where you came from in order to become the person you want to be.
Yeah, depending on whether the way you came from shaped you to be a strong, independent person. Because that's also the other thing, something that I deal with in coaching. The way you come from might actually be your biggest disadvantage, in that you were always put down. You were always told, the negative. And then you grow up with this, I'm not enough. I can't do anything. I can't be anything. When you're told, who do you think you are? Why do you think you're better than any of us that you can do this? And then you grow up with that thinking, well, I can never amount to anything because look at the family that I come from. So it depends. But the ones that have a positive outbringing, that always gives them an edge in the end of becoming the best people ever. And the ones that have a not so positive experience growing up have to work 3-4 times as hard to get that mentality out of them and then create a new story from there. Yeah.
So you grew up in Zimbabwe. You spent your 20s and after that, like in South Africa. Then at one point where you got married and how was it moving here, like after building a business there and going through COVID and all of that, and how was it moving here with your husband and children?
So moving here was a really weird, funny story. And I remember it was one holiday. We were in Mozambique on a beach, and my husband said to me, "Babes, I think it's time for us to move." And I'm like, where to? And he was just like, I think for a different experience. And also because, him being West African and me being Southern African, South Africa sees West African people in a totally different light as well. So their challenge is there. And, it was like, maybe to Europe. And I said, oh, okay. And then he said to me, what about Poland? And I said, who? And he said, Poland, babes. I said, where in the world is Poland? And he said, babes, don't you know Poland? There's Germany, there's France, there's whatever. And, and I was like, Poland. And then I started remembering, there was that Polish guy, one of the terrorists, that this is a Polish South African story. He assassinated Chris Hani. And I remembered that. And then I started remembering, Poland, this and I was like, okay. Then I said, but babes, do they speak English there? That was the first thing. And he said, well, they speak Polish, but the English community is growing. So it would be good to kind of like get in there. And then I'm like, okay, so what is the easiest way for us to get into Poland? And then he said, well, how about we do our executive MBAs? And I was like, oh, school again. And he's like, and I mean, my husband, he's a geek. He's an academic. He's just naturally clever. He's not like me, and to him it's like, well, just another badge, on all the other badges. And I was like, okay, all right, let's do this. And that's how it was. And then he applied 5 days later, because I think it was December, we got the response to say you've been approved, pay this much. And that was the start to, okay, we're doing this. And then we're doing this meant, so we're going back to school. We're doing this meant we're leaving our businesses, because he's also an entrepreneur. He's a financial analyst and an accountant and an entrepreneur. And we were literally, we had gotten to a point where we were very comfortable. I mean, I was well known, so having to then leave all that behind was not an easy decision. But I think a decision we needed to make, one also for our daughter, because we wanted her to experience a life outside what she already knew, and a life that's bigger than just what she had seen. Yes, we had traveled. We absolutely traveling. We love traveling as a family, but we just wanted her to live in a different environment, and learn new languages, experience different things. And so we thought, and also because we'd never been separate, having to say, okay, one goes and the other stays was just not on the cards for us. If it's where we go, you go.
As a whole family.
That's how it is with us, as a whole family. And then, so when now we had, paid for everything and got our documents, time to apply for the visas. I think we all know the story. It's just really not the easiest of things. And my visa and and our daughter's visa came out much earlier than my husband's visa. And his visa only came out, I think, 3 months after ours. So we left him behind. It was like, okay, now and also the school was saying, now you need to come and start school. And so we left. And that was the hardest thing that I had ever done.
Wow.
It was really difficult for us to be in two different worlds, and then I got here, and when you are in business and your clients will say to you, what, we will still give you the business, you'll still be our our consultant, bam, 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 got here. And within the first 2 weeks, I'd lost 95% of my clients, gone just like that.
Wow.
And then also,
it looks like it was like the COVID thing.
It was the COVID thing all over again, And now I'm all alone, And then it was it wasn't just that. It was a new environment. I knew nobody here, It's just myself and my daughter. And then it was somehow money just started getting lost in ways we didn't even understand. Even the money that we had saved. And we got to a point where I was like, what the have we done? But I, have a husband who is, if there's anybody who just believes, who has faith, is him. And he's like, babes, we're going to do this. And whatever it is, we're going to get through it. And I think, somehow when things happen, you think maybe, why are things happening this way? Why did I have to leave and him stay? And I actually think if he had come in with us when we came in, we would not have survived, because we would not have any income to survive. Him staying in South Africa for those almost 3 months was literally divine, in him still having to be able to support us, to the point that by the time he came, he had kind of like established his business in a way that he could run it without him being in South Africa. And it took me almost a year and a bit for me to even get 30% of, I don't even want to say my clients back. I lost the ones I lost. The clients that I have now are completely new. So it's not that I ever picked up any of and it was now literally starting my business from scratch. Here I thought I'd created a name for myself. Here I thought I was known. I then went into a market where nobody knew who Zar was. Nobody cared who Zar was. I came here as a student. I now had to dress down, wear a backpack, go back to school. But humility has never been something that that is not, humility and me, I think I'm a very humble person. It's not that I ever, would say, do you know who I am or whatever? I just adjusted and knew that this is what we needed to do in this period, but kept my fillers out, kept doing. Sometimes I would do work for free. Sometimes I would coach people here for free. Sometimes I would have coaching conversations with people and they would say, why don't you do this for a living? But I actually did, but they just didn't know. And started building my base from there. Or, I would go to an event and they would ask a question and I would then volunteer to answer it. And then people would look and say, who in the world is that? Oh, who would like to know more about what you do? And that's how I started growing. And then also my clients in South Africa started, and I think that's the power of social media as well, and being relevant and posting your content and all that, started to realize that, oh, she's actually in Europe now. And she's actually doing some great work there. Maybe it's time to call her up and say, can you help us with this? And some of my clients started calling me back to say, hey, Zar, we have an issue. Can you help us with this? And I started getting some of my coaching work back. I started getting some of my speaking work back and some of my facilitation and lecturing at universities, at organizations, and new work and. So was the first year easy? No, because literally we were living on 10% of what we were earning when we were in South Africa. But did that keep us motivated? Yes, it did, because we knew it was just a phase, and it's still just a phase. I don't think we are anywhere near where we were when we left, but we sure aren't where we were when we first came into this country, if that makes any sense. And do we know that there is bigger and better and we can only grow from there? Definitely yes. And that's what keeps me going. And also the fact that I never consider any work to be beneath me. I'm not that type of person, because then you lose out on the one person who can actually get you the big contract that you need and are looking for. There is no work that's beneath anyone. If it's 100 zloty you can get from it, take it. If it's 1,000, great. If it's 5,000, great. But take the hundreds, and those hundreds might lead to 500, might lead to 1,000, might lead to 10,000. And I mean, now I get offered, like I get people who would WhatsApp me and say, we saw your CV and, would you be interested in this role? And I can safely say to them, not at this salary. I make more than this working on my own. Why would I want to work for an organization and do this 8 to 5? But do I still do those little bits here and there? Yes. Do I still speak for free when I can? Absolutely. Nothing is too big and too small. When you have a brand and a name, you do everything that you can, and you just become humble at it. And in being humble at it, people will notice. Big or small, people will notice you.
Yeah, definitely. Being humble means, I can imagine leaving all of the businesses that you have built for yourself.
And the luxuries of big houses in South Africa to come to these little complex flats that we now stay in, right?
Yeah, because we can say it is your home country because you have grown there.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
You become an adult there, so...
Yeah, become a citizen. I mean, that's me. South Africa is... And I always have this battle where people say, where are you from? Because, yes, I've got Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe is also my home. It will always be my home. But South Africa is also my home, and it will always be my home. And that's where I grew up. That's where I was formed. That's where I went to school. That's where I went to varsity. And, that's where I grew as a brand and as a person. So there is the two countries will always be, where I am from. And also now Nigeria. Because there is that.
Yeah, because I know how moving in by yourself is to a different country, but we are talking about a whole family.
Yes,
here.
3.
Yeah, 3 people at the same time moving to leaving your income and just living to a different country. I can imagine that. It's really hard. Especially when we spoke about actually South Africa, I didn't ask you about the award you have won, being the most influential woman, the top 30 influential women in Johannesburg. How did that come about?
Yeah, it was a dream, I think. And it's that was given to me for the work that I was doing for women, actually, empowering women within society and within corporates. And something that I've always spoken about, being very passionate about. And whether I got paid for it or I didn't, it's something that I've always advocated for. And I spoke in every platform I could and tried to empower women and coach them in any way I possibly could, and just tell women that they are enough and they can do it. And also a few women that I have brought up myself and see them rise into be amazing women in organizations. And I think that was the basis of why I got the award.
Yeah. How did you feel at that time though?
Wow, it's just, some of these things to me, I just feel, is this me? Really? You're honoring me? I don't know. I think it comes with I don't know when I will ever accept that I have accolades behind me, because I just don't. And that's why even when, people say Mrs. Czar, and I'm just like, call me Czar. That's just me. But it was nice because it really acknowledged, I think, the hard work, the hard nights, the hard early mornings, the hard conversations I've had to have on some platforms to empower, my gender, and to just get women to know that they have it in them to be anything and everything they can be. So it was great. It was such a surreal moment for me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I congratulate you for that.
Yeah. And I think my daughter as well, because then I think she sees and she hears. And I think for me, that's why I do it. And I always tell people that whatever it is we've been called to do is never for you, it's for the next generation. Because they're always watching and they're always seeing. So for me, it's important to always show her that side of enoughness, show her that side of, oh, wow, if mommy can do this, so can I. So, yeah, and if mommy can fail and rise, so can I. So there's nothing that I've actually ever hidden from her, even through the, she's seen it all. And we make it visible for her so that she can be resilient through it and see that setback will come, right? But I can, learn from it and move on to become bigger and better. So it's never about us. It's for the next generation.
Yeah. It's for the next generation, yes. So before I move on to about your coaching and other stuff, I wanted to ask you one question. So do you think people are chasing success or just avoiding failure?
Yeah, I saw that question and I thought, Nate, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I think for me, it's, I've heard a lot of people never say I'm avoiding failure. It's always I'm chasing something, chasing the dream, I'm hustling, but when you actually ask them as a coach, what does success mean to you? That's when it all crumbles. Because most people have never really sat down and asked themselves that question. What does success really mean to you? Why are you doing what you are doing every single day? And once you sit down and unpack that, then you will find that sometimes what you think you are chasing is a different success to what you actually should be chasing. Because whys are very different for each and every single one of us. And if we don't understand our why, then the success that you're going to chase at the end is not going to be something that's going to fulfill you. I once chased success. I once chased the titles because I thought, and that's how we were raised, right? All of us. And whether you are black, white, Indian, colored, you go to school, your parents send you to school. After school, they want you to go to university, get a good degree so you can get a good job. And when you get a good job, so that you can get promoted and then have the title executive with the corner office and people reporting to you. I did that. I had that. But did that satisfy me at all? And that was the success I was chasing. And not once did anyone ever have a conversation with me to say, are you sure this is what you really want? Because maybe if I had that conversation, I would have realized earlier on in life that no, that was not my success. That is not how I define success. Because when I got there, that's when I suddenly realized I'm not happy. This does not fulfill me at all. The corner office meant nothing. The title executive meant nothing to me. And what I wanted and what my soul wanted as success was something totally different. And what that was to empower people, which is what I'm doing right now. And that success looks so different when people look at my profile, they'll think, why in the world would you go from this to that? Why in the world would you leave a stable salary, shares, executive bonuses, to hustle to get clients and to bill and not even know whether, I sometimes, I was laughing with my husband on Sunday because it was, I think at 1:30, actually Monday morning, 1:30 in the morning, I was sitting, at my desk and I'm working and he always says he feels guilty if I'm working and he's not working. So what does he do? He makes sure he works as well. So I'm like, those who earn salaries are busy sleeping at this time. And there I was, 1:30 on a Monday morning, working. But does that satisfy my soul? It does, because I know why I'm doing this. And I know what impact it will be to the next person that I have a conversation with. It might not be something that can get me the bonuses like I used to before. But for me, this is success. So I think the important question is, do they understand what success means when they are chasing it? Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, you've heard the question. Ask yourself what success means to you. And probably after you find the answer, it'll be much easier to know where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to coaching, you've worked in corporate, but also you've been a coach for corporate clients. So what is the biggest misunderstanding or misconception that organizations have when it comes to their team culture? If you have anything to say about that, and leadership.
Culture is not what's written on the walls and what people see when they walk into offices, as in, this is our culture. At so-and-so, this is who we are. Culture is how the leaders behave each and every single day. When they walk into the office and people are watching them, because they define the culture of the team and the organization. Culture is about what happens each and every single day within that team. That defines the culture. And sometimes when we say it's a toxic culture, it has nothing to do with what's written on the wall or the name of the organization. It has everything to do with what the manager, the leader, I don't call them a leader because a leader is somebody different, what the manager is allowing, because that's what builds the culture within a team. And most cultures become toxic because the manager themselves don't even know how to lead people. And also the manager themselves thinks It's all about them. When you are given a responsibility, your responsibility is not about you. It's about your team and making sure that they get the best out of the years that they spend under your management and leadership. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've answered quite because I also work in corporate and I know what you mean.
Yeah.
The walls and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, people will understand.
And that is why people will experience a different culture in the same organization.
Yeah.
Some people will say, oh yeah, but this is what we experience every day. And people are like, we don't even know what this is, because they don't experience it every single day. The people who are leading or managing are supposed to then input this into how they live and manage and lead every single day. And most leaders don't do that. Most managers don't do that. And it just ends to some people as something foreign stuck onto a wall. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're wrapping it up, but I have some questions left. What is the one lesson you wish everyone could learn earlier in life?
They are enough. That's the one lesson. Whether you're a man or a woman, you have the ability to be everything and anything you want to be, and don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. There are so many people who walk around not being able to fulfill their dreams because somebody has told them that they can't. And part of my journey and part of what I do and what my calling is to tell people to remember that little boy and little girl that they were before the world told them they weren't. Because that's where the problem happens. When we were born, we were like Superman and Batman and, Batgirl and all those superheroes. We had it all. We had the capes. And we knew, I can tell you a story of my little Hannah. Hannah, when she was 3 or 2, I can't remember, when she just started to speak, she told me, Mommy, one day I'm going to be able to fly. And then I said to her, but you fly all the time. We go to holidays all the time. We get on airplanes and we fly. And she says, no, Mommy, I don't mean that flying. I mean me, fly, Hannah, fly. And as a mom, I could have said to her, you're stupid. You don't know how to fly. You can never fly. Human beings don't fly. But I had to pull the coach within me and answer her and say, oh, that's interesting. And I'm going to be there on that very day when you take your first flight. And in that way, I have just encouraged a 2-3-year-old to dream big. And then she goes on her own journey of finding out what her capabilities are. And maybe when she is 10 or 11 realizes, this is not possible for human beings. Let me look for something better, right? But that's what happens to us. And I'm just giving you a silly example, but that's what happens to us as children. We then told, you can't be this. You can't be a brilliant mathematician. Look at all these mistakes that you're making. Who in your world has ever left, Ethiopia? You will never leave to go to Europe and do what? And then we start thinking, oh, maybe I'm less than. Maybe I'm not supposed to. And by the time you're 20, you've got all these bricks on your shoulders of what the world tells you you can't be. So for me, it's to don't listen to those voices. Remember who you were before the world told you were not. And in always remembering that, you can be the best at whatever it is you want to be. Just follow your calling, and you will know what your calling is. And the other thing is, everybody needs a coach or a mentor to guide you on the journey of life.
All right. Welcome back, guys. This is gonna be our last segment. But we've spoken about how people actually need coaching in their life.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for for you maybe to say where people can find you, and if people want to be coached by you as well.
Okay, all
So
right.
yeah.
Okay, so you can find me on any social media platform, ZAR Mab, so ZAAR. If I was in South Africa, I'd tell you it's double AR because I'm more precious than the South African rand. So, so ZAAR MAB. You'll find me on any platform with that, or on LinkedIn, ZAR Mabuto Oladipo. Oh yeah, you can just go onto my website.
Yeah.
zarmabuto.co.za.
Yeah. So every details will be there on the caption. We'll put it on the caption. So this is actually my favorite segment. We always do it with guests. Maybe if you haven't seen it on our podcast. So this is a time where we celebrate our guests. Because sometimes people maybe overlooking their success, and they may not have time to celebrate themselves. So we want to celebrate them with the little time they have with us. So let's bring out champagne.
Okay.
Yeah, we have champagne here.
Okay. I love this segment. I love me some sparkling.
This is my favorite segment as well. So yeah, we want to celebrate you for all the success that for all the things that you have gone through, and for all the success that you have achieved.
Thank you.
So we want you to open this bottle, actually. Let me give you.
And this is one of my favorites. How did you know?
This is one of your
because
favorites.
I'm a sweet person, so I can't take those brutes and all that. I can't. So you knew the exact one to bring.
Our production, they did their stuff. They did their research.
They did their research.
Yeah. So.
Oh wow.
Yes.
What an honor! What an honor!
Let's see the pop.
Yes, and it's got a pop, right?
Yeah, it's got a pop.
Yes.
That was a clean pop.
You can do the honors.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you very much for actually giving us your time. I know you're a very busy person, and
it's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure.
Do you have anything to say?
Well, cheers.
Cheers. Of course, cheers.
Do I have anything else to say?
Yep. Any last words?
I think just the power of success is being your true, authentic self. That, I think, for me, has been what has worked through my journey. I know even people who have said to me, why do you post your work on your personal platform and this and that? You got to separate the two. And I always say to them, I can't, because this is me. This is who you're going to see in a boardroom, in a classroom, in a space where I need to speak, at home. ZAR is ZAR everywhere. I don't pretend to be who I'm not. And if you can't buy into this ZAR, then I'm sorry. Then I'm not your person. Move on to the next person. Even with the people that I coach, it's always been about, it's not about my accolades. I will never, when I introduce myself, I've got this, I got that, and I studied this. That's not me. I'm authentic. This is me. If you see this ZAR, you'll see the same ZAR everywhere. So just be your true, authentic self. And I think in that, people will buy into who you are. They will love who you are. And from there, everything else will follow. So I think authenticity is really very important in living your life. Live your true, authentic self, and everything else will flow.
You heard that, guys? Be authentic, be true to yourself, and you'll get whatever you dream to be, right?
Exactly.
Cheers for that.
Cheers.
So thank you very much for watching. This has been an amazing episode. Actually, my favorite episode. I have
Oh,
learned a
wow.
lot of things.
Does he say that to everyone?
No,
Does he? Are you
no,
sure?
everybody knows I don't say that to everyone. But this was a really insightful episode, and I'm sure our audience have learned a lot of things from you.
I hope so.
Yeah. So thank you very much again. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Stay tuned for other episodes, and if you haven't watched our previous episode, you can go and watch it as well. Like, share, subscribe. Bye bye.